I'm going to tell you why dental marketing usually fails for a majority of dental offices and why marketing is not getting you the patients that you want or giving you a significant return on what you're spending. And spoiler alert, it's rarely the marketing itself. And watch this to the end because what I'm going to go over is going to save you thousands of dollars, sometimes every single month. Now, why would you even listen to me, right? Well, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I've run my own dental marketing agency for over 3 years now. And I'm also a dentist, of course, that uses the exact same ads and strategies here in our office. Across clients, I've seen clinics make over 30x. That means a $3,000 or 3,000% on their marketing return. And I've seen some clinics also make 0% on their marketing return or even a negative return. And I'm going to tell you exactly what the difference is between those two clinics. The one making 30x and the other making 0x. And it's not their location, it's not their demographics, and it's not their marketing spend or anything like that. It's something that's a little bit more fundamental to every dental clinic. It's their systems and their team. The difference between getting a 30x return and a 0x is one clinic has systems that are set up to complement marketing, to convert leads, meaning potential patients, to paying patients, and the other doesn't have any systems at all. They don't have any conversion systems. And beyond the office systems, there's also something that I like to call the great differentiator, which you might have heard of me talk about in previous videos or even my TikTok videos. And I'll get into that in detail here as well. I'm going to go over everything that you need to do with your systems and office before you should spend another dollar on marketing on your dental clinic, okay? And how you can take advantage of the great differentiator that you have in your office right now to massively boost your return month over month. And before we get into this, if you want me to personally help you grow your dental clinic to multiple seven figures in annual collections and beyond, whatever your goal is, click the link below in the description to learn more about what we do, because marketing is a very small piece of the entire puzzle. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to go over these 5 systems that your clinic needs to master before you spend another dollar on marketing. You need to master your patient intake system. You need to master your phone communication system. You need to master your consultation system and your money presentation system. And last but not least, your follow-up system. That is number 5. These 5 systems, those 5 systems alone, whatever state they are in at the moment, are going to amplify your marketing for good or for bad. If the systems are in bad shape, well, your marketing is obviously going to turn out horribly as well, right? Regardless of the marketing strategy and whatever you spend on marketing or how good that marketing company is. I'm going to give you an example. Imagine a restaurant, right, that spends a ton on advertising. They're paying influencers to post and whatnot, right? You go to their restaurant, the greeting sucks. The service seems like they don't even want to be there. And you're like, all right, there has to be a reason why this restaurant is everywhere online. Maybe the food is fantastic. That's all I care about at the end of the day. You get the food and it's absolutely shit. Now, do you think ads and marketing are going to help a restaurant like this in the long term? Especially in the medium to long term? Definitely not, right? A dental clinic isn't really any different to that example. Okay, so keep that in your mind. Let's dive into it. Number 1, the patient intake system. This one begins before the patient even calls your office. This one is the flow from the ads to the landing page to the lead capture and finally the office contact. We've seen clinics make mistake after mistake on this step. And it's not obvious mistakes, right? Just small things that add up to a very, very confusing experience for potential patients. And I get it. This isn't something that as a dentist you would know, but unless you do marketing, unfortunately, marketing companies are going to take advantage of you. Or even worse, the marketing company may not even know either what a good landing page is. So some examples of common patient intake mistakes that I see are things like running ads directly to your clinic's homepage, your clinic's website. The patient clicks on the ad, goes to your homepage, and is met with like a ton of information, a bunch of it not even relevant to why they even clicked on your ad in the first place. And from there, obviously the rest is history, right? They usually end up just bouncing off the website because they didn't get what they clicked the ad for. They don't know what to do. They click an ad for a certain issue and then they ended up on a completely different page. It's like if you clicked an ad for a specific product and got transferred to the homepage of Amazon. You'd be like, what the hell, right? Where was the product that I was looking for that I clicked? It's so important that you understand this before you run any kind of ads for that matter. Put yourself in the patient's shoes. Click on your ad and ask yourself, is this next step logical? What do I click next to make sure I'm fulfilling the ad, right? And if you can't figure that out, or if there are like 15 buttons to click up and to end up where you want them to end up, please stop. The flow needs to be changed. Prospective patients need a clear and focused landing page to arrive on if you're doing marketing. One that echoes the call to action from your ad, meaning what you reel them in for, and a page that builds trust. You should come across as a real respectable business that knows what they're doing. And when the patient is on the landing page, the next step has to be logical, right? I need to fill out this form to get X result. When the landing page is so convoluted or doesn't align with the ad, the patients become either confused or pissed off, or they bounce from your website entirely. And it sounds silly, but it's true. The shopping experience probably let them down in some kind of way. Going back to that Amazon example, right? The point of the patient intake system is to think about, how am I going to get this patient's information to call them or contact them with the least amount of friction as possible? That's it. The first optimization that you need to make when running a great marketing campaign is dialing in your landing page and your ad links. If those are dialed in, your whole intake process, it's going to be a little bit effortless for the patient. It's going to be easier. You'll lose less patients. It's a funny statement, but it's true. Every patient that you're not getting, you're technically losing them. The last thing that you want to do is purposefully drive them away with a shitty marketing flow. Now, let's say you figured out the first system, you got the potential patient's info. The next step is they either call you or you call them. And this is where, in more ways than one, the patient is either closed, meaning they're going to come into your office or potentially buy, or they're lost forever. And I've seen this firsthand. I even made an undercover video. You can take a look at it here, pretending to call an office just to demonstrate how bad it is out there. I also broke down in a short video what a good phone call looks like. But like I said, I've seen it time and time again. A patient calls an office, they want to book a consult, let's say for implants for this matter, or cosmetic dentistry. And then the front desk, without even asking the patient's name, without building any rapport whatsoever, either goes straight to scheduling or casually drops that the price is $25,000 and asks, hey, when can you come in? Think about that for a moment, right? If there are two clinics, just two clinics, let's say one is getting a 30x return on their marketing and the other is getting a 0x return. Which one do you think is answering the phones in that way? It's obvious, right? Before you even think of investing in marketing, spending thousands of dollars running ads, hell, even organic leads that come to you, where you don't even have to do much. They just come to you. Your whole front office team, whoever's answering phone calls, at minimum, needs to be trained on communication, basic sales conversations. Then you also need to train the entire office. You can't just have a solid front desk team and the rest of the team has no idea how to communicate, or they're slacking. Now, most importantly, the phone call with leads should focus on building trust and an initial over-the-phone connection in a way that you need to stand out from every other dental clinic, or business for that matter that they've called. You want an amazing first impression. Then you need to get to the bottom of why this patient is calling today. Address their concerns, talk about their possible fears, right? Talk about possibilities. Even for simple new patient calls, talk about possibilities and your office. You need to be setting expectations and positioning your clinic in that place of authority, right? Like I said, you really need to train your front desk to do this. If you don't, and you're running a marketing campaign, you are literally burning thousands of dollars a month. And we've seen this time and time again with dentists. Your front desk or whoever's doing the phone calls needs to guide the conversation. They need to create excitement. They need to make you stand out as a dentist. And like I said, they need to build trust and finally book these patients on the schedule. It's not easy, obviously. It takes work and intentional training on your part as the leader. That's the other part. You have to be a leader and train for this. This is one of the core systems that we help our clients with as well. We audit their communication, their leadership, their phone calls, their consult interactions, all of it. because it's so incredibly important to running a successful practice. It's literally the foundation of your practice. That being said, when phone calls are dialed in, no pun intended, by the way, your show rate dramatically increases. Your patient quality is usually much better or great because you spend time on the phone to screen them ahead of them coming into the office. And case acceptance should be above average as well. When everyone is dialed in, it gets even better. Now let's move on to system number 3, the consultation system. When it comes to consults, every step from the time the patient arrives into the office to the end where you're presenting the money, and I'll talk about that next, it all needs to be dialed in. You don't want to be the office where patients come in the door, they're awkwardly taken back by the assistant, then the assistant brings them and sits them down, and then the doctor comes in, does a little diagnosing, period probing, explains a little bit, then the front desk comes in and tries to close a $10,000 case while the patient is literally sitting in the chair, probably lean back a little bit, and hopes that the patient says yes. Please don't do this, okay? What I want you to do is run your new patient and consult experiences like the best offices. Now there's multiple ways to skin a cat. Not one way is better than the other. The important part here is the flow, the handoffs, and the communication. You don't have to copy us, but here's what we do. Before the patient even makes it to your chair, your front desk and your team should have a sense of who the patient is, what was discussed already with them on the phone call, and what they're looking for. Hopefully they learned this from the morning huddle, by the way, and hopefully there are some great phone call notes in the chart. No team members should be talking to the patient without some prior information. The front desk, ideally your treatment coordinator, should take the patient back to the assistant and they should build some rapport. And then they hand them off to the assistant while at the same time they're introducing the patient and repeating and summarizing why the patient is here today in front of the patient. The assistant should continue building up that trust and rapport, taking records as they see the patient, obviously photos, scans, whatever you do. Have a great conversation with them, and then the doctor enters the room, and the assistant can introduce you to the patient. They should give you a summary of what was talked about, again, in front of the patient. These handoffs are extremely important in making sure the patient is involved in every single step of the process and isn't left alone on an island, okay? Another big reason for miscommunication. If you've ever experienced this before, you know what I'm talking about. You go to a healthcare office, any healthcare office, or any business for that matter, and you have to interact with like multiple people. You tell one person one thing, and every time you meet somebody else, somebody new, you have to keep repeating yourself. Almost like nobody's talking to each other, nobody's communicating with each other. And that's what you need to avoid. But when you do it in front of the patient, the experience is better, and everyone is on the same page, and the patient knows you're all on the same page. Now, your job as the doctor is to build trust and build a value and help the patient see their problems and realize themselves the problems. And most importantly, focus on the outcome and the possibilities. Once that's done, you hand off the patient back to the treatment coordinator, giving them a summary of the appointment. Again, in front of the patient, so they're well prepared for that next step, whatever that next step may be. And that next step is usually a well executed dollar presentation. In every service-based business, especially when you're dealing with thousands of dollars like you are in dentistry, 4 or 5 figures, you need to have a system for how you present money. And by that, I mean how your team presents the treatment investment after the new patient exam or the consultation is over. For most offices, this is most commonly where the wheels like come off the bus, right? So to say. Like it all starts falling apart when it comes down to presenting the financials. You've done an amazing job in the operatory clinically, then it all just falls apart. And that's obviously definitely not what we want. What most practices do is they just like present the treatment fees like a menu in a restaurant. They focus on the procedure, the itemized list, like core crown on 3, 4, 6, 7, implant, custom abutment, core, crown, sedation, whatever it is. They don't even sound confident while they're doing that, by the way. This step is literally the last place they want to create confusion to the patient. The patient is coming from the clinical op with a doctor in a state of hopefully high emotional charge, if you do that part right. And they come with the outcome in mind. The doc sold them on it. And now, if you can't nail down the dollar presentation, the emotional frame is broken. And the patient is basically lost. All that work for nothing, right? Can you imagine? Well, it happens so often thousands spent on marketing, patients come in, have a great appointment, then it all falls apart at the treatment presentation. And I know what you're probably thinking. Hey, Chris, it usually falls apart because the patient can't afford anything. Well, that's not true, okay? I've listened to many dollar presentations, and even patients that could afford the treatment were turned off. And for some of them, even I'd be confused as a dentist and turned off. I've also had patients come from other offices to us that have told us the exact same story, and then they've done treatment with us. Suddenly they found the money, right? Now here's some things that great clinics do to nail it every single time. They focus on the solution, not the line items. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, they propose the cost as an investment in getting completely healthy. For example, John, here's what we need to do to reach total dental health. And here is the investment, and it's $10,000. Super clear, no confusion, no upsell, one sentence, and the proposal is tied to the outcome that the patient wants. Maybe total dental health, whatever it may be. And the investment is super clear. This process should be incredibly simple, presented with confidence, and the investment tied to the outcome every single time, not the procedure itself or the little line items that you have. That's one example. Next is going through the flow of your financial options and the strategy behind that. I won't get into that here as this isn't meant to be a financial presentation lecture, but as you can see, you need a strategy behind this as well. You can't just wing it or just do it all willy-nilly, right? Expecting your team to present thousands of dollars without any training. Okay, no other business does that. This system is one of the harder ones to get right, by the way, and something that we help clinics with all the time. The best part is though, once you get it right, it rarely changes. It's a recipe that you follow time and time again. So to reiterate again, don't think about starting marketing if you have an ounce of doubt in your mind about this step, and instead practice it with the patients that you get organically, that you're not technically paying thousands of dollars for. And lastly, number 5, the one thing that's typically brushed to the side or forgotten about in dentistry is effective and frequent follow-up. A great follow-up system. It's very common in sales, but dentistry, it just gets lost. This is where a lot of practices lose a massive amount of revenue, not because the patient said no, but because no one really followed up properly with them. Patients leave saying, let me think about it, very common, or I'm going to talk to my spouse, another excuse. And most clinics take that as a no, when in reality it's just uncertainty, right? And if you don't address that uncertainty, it's going to turn into inaction on their part. And the case is just practically gone. What usually happens next, maybe in follow-up, maybe one generic call, maybe a quick text, or really nothing at all for a majority of practices. No structure, there's no plan, there's no continuation of that conversation that you worked so hard to build, or so much money you spent in getting that patient. And now think about the type of cases that you're trying to close, right? Implants, cosmetic, full arch. These are big decisions. Patients are not making these decisions on the spot a lot of the times. They need reassurance, they need clarity from maybe their partner, or maybe they need to think about it. And most importantly, they need multiple touch points. There's a reason in sales and marketing, you're gonna hear numbers like 7 contact points, 7 hours of exposure, 10 contact points, 13 touch points, whatever it is, before someone makes a decision. And most dental offices, they stop at like 1 or 2 contact points, if that, if they even do any. High performing clinics, the best clinics, they understand this. And they build a system around it. They're not just checking in, but they're structured follow-up, scheduled follow-up, same day messages reinforcing the outcome. Next day, touch points with a patient, answering any common questions or addressing any concerns, follow-up questions, whatever it may be, or financing help. All designed to help build confidence and remove that friction in whatever way possible. Just like every other system that we talked about, this has to be consistent. It can depend on who remembers to follow up with that day, right? It needs to be built in to your process, because follow-up isn't about being pushy. It's about reinforcing trust in patients and helping patients feel confident in one of the most important decisions they're going to make for their health, right? And when you get this right, your case acceptance is going to increase, your patient relationships are going to improve, and your marketing starts to actually perform in the way that it's supposed to. What a surprise, right? If you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correctly, because it was never the marketing. It was the systems behind it. And that's it. Those are the 5 systems you absolutely need to master before you should even think about starting marketing. These 5 systems: patient intake, phone communication, consultation, money presentation, and follow-up, are the very backbone of any well-executed marketing campaign. You can spend all the marketing dollars in the world. If you can't execute these 5 systems well, it's not going to matter. You may get lucky once or twice, but you are not going to scale, and your returns are going to be horrible. You're going to be spending thousands of dollars. But once you have these 5 systems down, remember, your team has to tie this all together. It's a package deal, right? It's a package deal, these systems. And I've broken them down into silos here for ease for you in understanding this. This is one fluid structure that needs to come together by your great differentiator. And who is that again? Your team. Your team is the great differentiator in this equation. Remember, your competition down the road could have these systems all dialed in, but if their team isn't as welcoming as yours, they're not as energetic as yours, they're maybe not as warm or receptive as your team, then you always have the upper hand. So don't forget these 5 systems plus your great differentiator, which is your team. They are your magic bullets, so to say, in getting an amazing ROI, a return on investment for marketing. And before I leave you with a parting message, if you want me to personally help grow your dental clinic to multiple 7 figures in annual production and beyond, whatever your goals are, by implementing these exact systems, click the link in the description below to learn more about what we do. And look, if you're a dentist just like me and you're watching this because your marketing isn't working, maybe it could be better, or maybe you're even considering starting marketing, take a moment and score each of these 5 systems that I mentioned throughout this video. And if there's any doubt, don't move forward or spend any more marketing dollars, okay? Instead, put those funds towards improving your team. Your ROI is going to be way higher from just doing that than spending dollars on marketing. So until then, I'll see you in the next one.